I think what Bill Fincham didn't like about him, he knew that this fellow could have been commissioned just like that. But Bill chose what he thought was a quiet job to sit out the war. His pay was being made up, his teacher's pay. Why should he worry? And I don't think Bill Fincham, the warrant tell, liked it. Anyway, he disappeared off the station quicker than that, just went. Packed and gone. And we thought, as he was going at breakfast the next morning, I heard about it, when somebody said, you know, when we get back to Pompey, if we get back, because you live from day to day, did you not? If you get back, you'll see a skeleton up there swinging on the highest yardarm. And a pair of thick-nosed spectacles there like this, swinging back and forth. And I said, oh, I don't think it's as bad as that. They'll just keel all him, I think. What happened was he turns up 3 months later, commissioned, and they put him where he should have been in the first place, in cryptanalysis. Because as Kahn tells you in his book, they were looking for mathematicians and linguists. Because all languages, even the Eastern languages, have a basis of construction. And once the construction of the language is understood, it's an easier job to burrow into the codes. So Bill was there. On this station, everything was very informal. Nobody saluted anyone. We just walked in and out, and we called them sir and that type of thing, but nobody saluted, except for Bill Boyd. Every time we saw Bill coming, we'd all throw him one up. And he'd walk back and he'd say, bugger off. I'm sometimes asked, were the Japanese efficient? By God, they were efficient. I said before, you know, if they make a mistake, they send along G, you know, ship. But they never made mistakes. Honestly, didn't. They were miraculous, very accurate. Unlike the Italians, which used to fall out over the air, you know. What funny that. They used to fall out over the air, start calling each other names right in the middle of the traffic. The Germans were good, of course, but the Japanese were the best. I'm reminded of a little story to illustrate just how good they were. Where we come from on the Wirral, if you know the area, there's a local railway there called Mersey Railway. And it starts from two sources on the Wirral. One's in New Brighton, the other one's in West Kirby. And it goes under the Mersey Tunnel to Liverpool, you see. And in Birkenhead, which is the town I grew up in, there are 3 stations. There's one at the south end of the town called Hamilton Square, one in the centre called Park, because it's by Park, it's by a park, and there's one at the north end of the station, obviously called North End. And I'm told one day that a docker, when there were dockers, came up on the pools and won £750,000. And full of Protestant work ethic, he goes up to his boss and he gives him a laterally inverted Wolf Cub salute and puts his notice in. He says, I'm going on my holidays. He said, I'm going to Japan. Always wanted to go to Japan. See them geisha girls. And have some of that sake wine. And this is typical of a Burkonian, isn't it? And he packs his little bag and he goes to this little station in the north end of Birkenhead and he says, a single to Tokyo, please. And the clerk said, you what? He said, single, you know, Tokyo. Come up on the pools, going to Japan on my holidays. He said, sorry, mate. He said, you don't go on the bloody train, you fly. I said, don't like aeroplanes. I want to go on the train. He said, sorry, mate. He said, this is just the north end. Nip down to Birkenhead Park, you know, that's in the middle of the town, they'll tell you. Single to Tokyo, but you what? Sorry, mate. Nip down to Hamilton Square, that's the main station on Merseyrail. Waits in the queue at Hamilton Square. Single to Tokyo, sorry, mate, nothing like that here. He said, if you can go on the train, Liverpool you want, Lime Street. So he jumps on the train, goes to Liverpool, Lime Street, says, no tickets here for Tokyo, mate. He says, tell you what, though, if you can go on the train, he said, there's only one place will tell you, that's Euston. He said, that's where the headquarters of BR is, go down there. So he gets on the train, and blow me, they fix him up. They route him on the Trans-Siberian right across and drop him down, you know. And he gets into Tokyo, and he has his fill of sake wine and geisha girls, and after about 6 months, he's up country, and typical Burkonian, going home now, just like that. And he goes to this little wayside station and he says, single to Birkenhead, please. And he says, Hamilton Square, Birkenhead Park, or Birkenhead North? Yes, they were very efficient operators, and that little tail, they weren't quite as efficient as that, but they were good. We were coming off watch one morning, and we found that we were all covering 3 stations. And we were coming off watch one morning, and we suddenly found that one of the stations they were working had disappeared. They'd split frequency because of us. To fool us, they'd put one station on another frequency. And they were all talking about split, they split, they split. Well, we stood down for a day. And the next day when I went in with some of my friends, we were going on watch, he called us over, Bill Fincham, not because I was a good operator, I wasn't particularly good, they were far better than I, but Fincham and I got on very well. We spoke the same language, bad. And he said, got a job for you lads, come here. And he took us to these HROs. There were two HROs. And he said, you know they split frequencies. So we said, yes, we heard when we were going off watch. He said, well, there's 2 on that and 1 on that. He said, those 2 are in that ear, that one's in that ear. 2 message pads in triplicate, 2 logbooks. And this is where the cunning comes in. He says, don't worry. He said, we got it covered by others. I just want to see if you can do it. Lovely way to hook a 19 or 20-year-old. Now I'd say, I'm sorry, but I can't manage, you know. But at that age, you know, yeah, we'll do it, you know. And we flogged our guts out and we managed it. The reason we had to do it was because they just hadn't got the room for more sets and they hadn't got the operators. And eventually the system spread and we all settled down to it and it was handled quite easily. Until the inevitable happened. They split 3 ways. And as I was going off, I'd heard about this. And I turned to Bill Fincham. He was a warrant telegraphist. By this time, I'd risen to the dizzy heights of leading hand. And there was only him and I. And I said, you're buggered now, Bill. We've only got 2 ears, you see. You should never have said that to Bill Fincham. He just goes, I said, aye, what's this? We go back in, not the next day, but the day after. And they've made plywood booths with 3 sets. 1 in the middle, 1 there, 3 pads in triplicate, stack of pencils. I said, what's with this lot, Bill? He said, that one's in that ear, that one's in that ear, that one's on the speaker, but keep the gain down. So I looked at him and same guy, just want to see if you can do it. Don't worry, we've got it covered. And it was a wren. And I'll more about the wrens in a minute. Deirdre, I'll never forget, very nice girl. I said, what's with the wrens? She'd just only been out about a week. She wasn't actually into the system. She said, well, Deirdre, that's if you want anything, send Deirdre, you see, with a message. I said, aye, all right. So I went on, and I started looking at this lot, and setting the gains, and all the rest of it. And I wrote a message. And I folded this up. Now, in those days, you see, you can say things like that to girls today, but in our day, you couldn't. We put our women on a pedestal in those days. I remember this in The Cruel Sea when one of them says, you put your women on a pedestal. And he says, yes, that's so we can see the legs better. And the Yank turned around and says, I'm a tit man myself. I always remember that in The Cruel Sea. But we did. We put our ladies on a pedestal, and we hid this so that Deirdre couldn't see it. And off she goes. And I'd forgotten all about this and just got on with the job. And I was about sorting it out and beginning to take my first message when I get a tap on the shoulder, and there's Deirdre with a brand new brush. Bill Fincham had gone to the bosun's store at night, got the keys, gone in there, sharpened the stale, you know how you have to, they never fit, do they? Jammed it in, put the nail in, just to have the last word. No. 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 There were a number of incidents that happened out there. Some were gory, some were tragic, some were nasty. We were chatting coming up, weren't we, Wilf? And I said we had to clout one Japanese in the water over the head to take him inboard for a prisoner for interrogation. They used to swim away to try and drown themselves. But I don't much talk about things like that. I hate that side of it. But what I do is pick upon one or two stories that you might find of interest. I got fed up with this sitting in front of a set, copying this stuff, which for all I knew they were shredding. We weren't told anything about what the traffic was. The only time we heard anything is if they sunk a submarine. If the DF picked them up and they got it, they'd come in, they'd go to the set, and they'd turn the logbook back and said, "Who's this operator? Tell him we got that sub." And that was all. But we heard nothing else. We didn't know what we were reading or anything. It was just all this stuff. And all we were, and I suddenly realized, was nothing more than a robot. I was a machine, just a machine. You didn't think about the Morse, you didn't have to think about it. You heard the sound and the hand wrote the symbol. You become just a machine. And you see, Wilf was sending and receiving traffic which you knew about. You knew the contents of. We didn't. And I got thoroughly bored with it. We had Wren operators come out who, by and large, were better than we were. They were better operators. They were more patient. They applied themselves better. Some of them are absolutely superb. And there was enough chauvinism in me at that young age to want to do something different. So I tried to remuster and asked if I could be just a telegraphist. I said, "I'll lose my rate. I'll go down to ordinary tel, if you like." So he said, "No." He said, "Once you're in naval intelligence, you can't remuster. You stay here with us till the war's over." So he said, "What are you after anyway?" I said, "I want to get to sea." I said, "I joined the Navy to go to sea, not to sit on the shore base." He said, "Well, there'll be an opportunity for go to sea." He said they've been doing some work in the Atlantic where